Folks, firstly, I'd like to really congratulate all of you to be at SRCC. That itself is a huge achievement. So really, guys, well done. And the journey ahead now really depends on the choices that you will make, both on the personal front and on the career front. What will differentiate one from another, having already proved your academic excellence, is what you choose. I'll say do not get into any kind of rat race. Don't simply do things because you see your colleagues and your classmates do them. Really take out time and find out what are you truly made for, what will give you happiness, because eventually, trust me, guys, unless you enjoy what you're doing every day, you'll not be successful. So I'll start on that note. Most of you would know what I've done, but I'll just quickly talk you through. So I started my career with Procter and Gamble. I did my internship with them, and I will say, I worked very, very hard during my internship, and that's something I always emphasize. And when I walked in, I was given a project that was probably 2 or 3 decades ahead. The first reaction was, gosh, this can never happen. What do I do? And I'm really telling you, I do feel I made the right decision completely on my own then. That's what's got me here. And then I felt, well, there must be a reason the company has given me this. Let me at least deep dive. I went around, I worked on it, right? And I knew this cannot be done. While everyone told me that they just want to see the solution, never mind, just tell them to implement it. And this is how I went with my gut feel, and I went with what's right. If I was to be a good finance person, I had to tell the company this cannot be done right now. But instead of just telling them that this cannot be done right now, I told them how to do it first. And then I said, please do not do it because it will not work for your business. Okay, so for a finance person working with any company, it's always important to show the right processes and data and then give that business input if this is right or not. So I did a lot of roles in P&G, being an MBA by background. When you are joining a corporate or an FMCG, you can either go into transactional work, which is usually accounting. You can go into business partnering role. That's what I have done given my MBA background. Or you could go into specialist roles like treasury or tax. Those are usually taken by chartered accountants. So within the business partnering role with Procter and Gamble, I worked with the sales teams. I've worked in plants with the production people and supply people. I've worked with marketing teams on the brand finance area and category finance. As I got more senior, I had P&Ls to manage. I have also done physical hedging, which usually you feel you might do if you are in an investment bank or a bank, but no, corporate finance role does give you a very rich exposure. Then I've also worked on the M&A side when Procter and Gamble acquired Gillette, not in the deal making, but in actually ensuring a smooth integration of this mammoth that was acquired, and really learned a lot. Post that, I moved to India. I worked with Coca-Cola on planning and strategy side, post which I took a small break. And if you guys want to talk about it later, I'm happy to talk. I took a small break to be with my twin boys. They were 3-year-old that time. Then I joined Philips as a CFO for consumer durables. For me, what really worked for me and still works for me is a strong integration with business. And my bosses saw that, so I was moved into general management. At the same time, I also started consulting after, of course, declaring it within Philips with 9 founders. And over time, 9 really took off, and I joined them as a CEO, where I worked for 3 years before I finally came back to working for a larger company in the finance function. So that's been my career. I've experimented a lot. I've gone with my gut. I have also taken time off to be with my kids when it was needed. And yes, I can say I feel really happy doing what I'm doing today.
Thank you for sharing your experience. So ma'am, we can go ahead with the cash management topic from FMCG lens, and then we'll take up the Q&A after that.
Sure. If anyone has questions during, like, I think Yatharth has already said, you guys can keep typing if I miss out anything and you want to know more. So again, I'll try to give you a broad overview. If I have to talk about cash in an FMCG, there are, I would say, two broad places where cash is engaged. One is the working capital, and one is the capital expenditure. And this is not just FMCG, it could be any large corporate. There is bound to be some production requirements, some capital expenditure, buildings, plants, etc. And there'll be working capital. Either you're financing someone or you are buying something and you need financing, right? Let me first talk about working capital. Now, when it comes to working capital for an FMCG, there are two or three large areas where this is needed. Firstly, is to drive your sales, right? If you have to put your products out in the market, depending on where you stand in the market and also what is your strategy as a company, there might be credit required. Huge amount of money to make sure your product is there with the distributors and retailers all over the country, right? You will have a smaller portion that's to do with employee expenses. Another big area will be capital. Now, when it comes to management of cash within an FMCG, you have a lot of banking products. You could save on, say, 2 to 3% and add to your P&L if you leverage these banking products very well, if you strike a good deal with a bank. But the real saving happens when you work with each and every business partner in the company. For a finance person, cash management is not so much about working with the bank or planning, financing or looking at the financial models. Banks come, they do those pitches to you, and you can very easily negotiate and pick. The real value that a finance person in a corporate brings is by partnering very strongly with the sales team, coming up with the right strategy, ensuring that you're working with marketing on your brand strength, ensuring they have the right investment so that eventually your product takes off well from the market. It's working with your supply teams to make sure inventories stay in check. With your analytics and finance have a very, very strong role to play together. Each finance person has to have a great deal of comfort in analytics, right? Using all of that to figure out the inefficiencies, and that's where you drive a lot of value. How effectively you help your company manage cash has a direct impact on shareholder return or your stock price sooner or later. Because the leaner you are, the lesser base you're working on, the faster you're rotating on your investment, you will be adding so much more to the shareholder value. Happy to take more questions on this. I've given you a very broad overview right now.
Ma'am, my first question for you is, as you have been the part of both a startup culture in Nine India, as well as in big firms like Coca-Cola and P&G, what, according to you, is the difference in their cash management approach?
Okay, let me first tell you what impacts cash, right? I've told you, let me build on it a little further. Cash is needed on two areas, like I said, capital, where you're investing in machinery, and the second one is working capital. Now, how ambitious you are as a company in growing fast, right? Or how comfortable you are on taking risk with your cash. What is your sales strategy? Are you in a push mode or you in a pull mode? What is your brand strength? Those are the things which drive your working capital and capital utilization. Okay. Now, if you were to talk about older companies who have a good market share, there is a lot of pull in the market. These companies do not have to give credit to the distributors and retailers. They simply will buy it, investing their own money, because they know if I buy it today, tomorrow it'll be off my shelf. So both Procter & Gamble and Coca-Cola, and for that matter, even my current company, do not believe in pushing the product in the market with credit. When you come to any startup, and it's not just Nine, again, it's going to be a very fine balance on what you want to invest in and how aggressive do you want to go. And it's not just cash, but a lot of other things that come into play that can backfire. So yes, as a startup, a lot of companies adopt pushing the product in the market simply with the hope that if it's placed on the shelf. There might be an impulse purchase, there might be a trial, and that will go a long way in building the brand. I mean, there's no right and wrong, but it has to be a very well thought of decision of what you want to play as. If you're very cash rich and you have the risk taking appetite, you will go and push out your product. Along with the push also comes a need to invest ahead of the curve on your base capital. If you want to be pushing the product in the market, you will be manufacturing more. Now, the risk over here is, what if it doesn't translate into offtake? So the risk is the product lying on the shelves that you have placed is getting old and rusty and dusty, right? And the credit is not coming back that you have used to push in the market. The retailers are not going to pay you if you're a new brand and your product is not selling well, right? So that's where it is. I've found well-placed companies with very well-established brands to go very lean on capital. Is also their strength in the market. Suppliers are also happy to give them a lot of credit. For example, if I'm in Mars and if I have to buy sugar, the sugar supplier knows that this company is going to come back to me for the next 10 years. And he doesn't see any risk in Mars. So he'll be happy to give me a 45-day credit. If I'm a startup, that may not happen.
Thank you, ma'am, for such a clear thought. My next question for you is, in one of your YouTube videos on Richa's Corporate Diaries, you talked about women neglecting cash management due to other commitments. So in your opinion, what is the importance of cash management for women, and how is this negligence resulting in low financial inclusion in India?
You know, I really wish this was a live session where I could have had more interaction and asked you guys on what do you really think about it. You know, what I've talked on YouTube is just one aspect of why women are not financially prudent, and it applies to more women and girls like us who are over here. We are more privileged. We get all the inputs from our fathers, from our mothers at home. We get educated, we know what finance is all about, and yet we ignore it because somewhere nature has made us in a way that once we have kids, we get more into nurturing and we sideline everything else. We get a little too trusting, so we do it to ourselves. But if I look at a vast majority of our country, it's not by choice that women are not financially empowered. That's how they are brought up. They are brought up pretty much as a second-grade citizen in most houses. They are never allowed to make any financial decision. And team, I say this not out of reading a textbook or what the media says or what I see on TV. I've seen it as a ground reality, and to me, because I've always grown up in a city, was really shocking. And I'll take this example so that you guys understand what it's all about. I've worked in Nine, and because it was a startup, I used to be a lot out in the market. There used to be booths we used to set up. We used to attend a lot of Diwali melas and all, put on our booths. Several times I saw that whenever we were running offers like 2+1 and 3+1 or whatever, and there used to be a marginal discount on those combo packs, and we would try to tell the women to upgrade to the 3+1 versus just take a 2+1, and it used to be only a 10 rupee difference. Out of 10 women who came to that booth, I'm not exaggerating, 8 used to go back to ask their husbands if they can spend that incremental 10. That is the real middle class of India, or the lower middle class of India. That's the semi-urban and rural India that you have, which is 60-70% of our population. So there is no financial empowerment. And to fix that, the two things, like I said, one, women like us have to be more aware so that we don't mess up, right? We have to negotiate and be co-partners in investment decisions. But for the majority of women, it really has to start at home in empowering your daughters and sons equally, and it has to start in schools. Even now, I see a lot of stereotyping in schools, which is not fair. And I'll give you an example again over here. I have 2 boys, twins. And when they were probably in grade 2 or 3, I just happened to see what they were doing or the presentation they were going through. And I saw that the teacher had used male doctors, engineers, and so on. And for nurse, it was a woman. So, subconsciously, it starts right there. And I did take it up with the school. I said, guys, this should not be the case. You can very well have a male teacher and a male nurse and vice versa. So why even bring it up that way? But this sensitivity has to really spread. And I would request all of you to take this as an agenda and ensure that if you see any of your girlfriends, sisters shirking away from financial responsibility, make it a point and educate them.
Thank you, ma'am. Those were some valuable insights.
If given a choice, what would you choose? A startup or an established brand?
That depends on which phase I am in life. As of now, I would say, an established brand.
So people starting out career like us, we can go for startups also for rich experience.
There are a couple of things about startups, okay? There won't be too many people to be able to coach you and guide you and help you plan your future ahead. A startup is all about now. So what is it that you're bringing to the table now? The patience level might be a little low to really focus on you as a candidate. So again, it depends on your choice. What is it that you're looking for? If you want to move on and have your own startup, then maybe yes. But I would strongly recommend go to a place that's a little more stable where you have senior managers in place to be able to coach and guide you.
Thank you, ma'am. What are few must-have skills that you look for in a candidate while hiring him or her?
The first thing is sincerity and some proved measures of him or her having worked very hard. What is it that the person has done to ensure that the person will continue to succeed? Will I be able to believe that he or she will be sincere in doing whatever I assign to him?
Okay, ma'am, having worked as CEO and CFOs, so you try to keep yourself upskilled regularly, or is it like existing knowledge that you put into use?
No, I like to upskill myself and I learn a lot from youngsters or the young talent that comes in. Otherwise, I would have been obsolete by now. And part of my decision to come back to a well-established brand was also to really understand how large companies are embracing technology. I need to be ready to be able to work for the next 20 years, right? So it's constant learning for me via books, via courses, and hands-on by interacting with people.
Okay. Apart from managing the huge finances, what activities do you like to indulge in?
I do exercise very regularly. I love cooking as and when the time permits. And these days, because I'm surrounded by chocolates day in, day out, I'm trying to find some time to experiment with those chocolates in cooking. But yes, other than that, my kids, they're 11-year-old. They are pretty boisterous. Keeping them a little more engaged away from YouTube and gaming. They have this roadblocks these days into their studies. That's what keeps me busy.
Ma'am, any skills you would like to suggest us as management students that we should pick up before the season starts, or that we must continuously work on?
So first of all, be very clear in what you want to do, right? And if you want to go into FMCG, it's not a bad idea to do a sales internship somewhere. It's not a bad idea to go and request, and even if it's unpaid, to take up many projects. That'll give you a flavor of what is it like in a corporate workplace. Other than that, as I already mentioned, don't shy away from Excel sheets and analytics. They are your base deliverable. Get very friendly with Microsoft Office. I'm talking very basic stuff, but I see some youngsters struggle on this. And when you have freshers, when you have management trainees or junior staff, this is what defines success. How fast are you with data? How well you can think and present it in a meaningful way. Communication is also key. So communication, analytics, and some real hands-on work experience, even if it's not paid.
Thank you, ma'am. The session was truly enlightening and you answered the justified rapid fire questions. And some of the valuable takeaways from the session were that we need to be out there in the field and get as much as hands-on experience we can, and just use it with our bookish knowledge, and have more of practical side to it. And I would also like to say that we drew up that unless planned, managed, and monitored effectively, a no cash situation in our day-to-day lives can be a nightmare. Same goes for the corporates. Now, I would like to request Ram Kamesh sir to deliver the vote of thanks and bring the session to a close.
No, firstly, I think very, very engaging and interesting session. I really like the rapid fire. Thanks, Phonetics, for actually coming up with that idea. And I could relate to a lot of things, Ms. Richa, whatever you mentioned, because I started my career with sales. and that was with Alibaba.com, and Chennai was the location. And those were
Oh.
like initial days for Alibaba in India. And it was sort of a startup setup. We were hired as management trainees. And I know the challenges it had, but great amount of learning. I've learned the art of networking, importance of in relationship building, never to burn bridges. That's the principle I follow throughout. Throughout my career, I tend to sort of maintain good relationships and never to burn bridges. I could relate to a lot many things what you said, and kudos to you actually the way you've managed and then the way you built your career and where you are. Long way to go, and we are looking forward to actually much more success to come and many new things that you initiate, and more engagements between SRCC especially,
I
and
would
sessions
love,
like this will be of great helpful. Yeah,
Firstly, I would love to come down to your campus someday and just sit in the canteen, have chai with some of you. So look
would
forward to
love
doing
to
that.
actually see you on campus definitely, and look forward to it. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, team. Thanks.